The luxury mall in the center of the city was full of shining lights, expensive clothes, and rich people. That day, the excitement was even bigger. Billionaire businessman Mr. Karen was visiting. He was one of the richest men in the country, known for his big buildings, flashy lifestyle, and a face that was always on the news. Cameras flashed. Reporters gathered. His guards pushed people away as Mr. Karen walked into the mall wearing a black suit and dark sunglasses. His face looked calm. He waved a little and smiled at the cameras. Everyone wanted to look at him, but suddenly something unexpected happened. A little girl, barefoot with messy hair and torn clothes, ran through the crowd. Her face was dirty, but her eyes were full of fire. She pushed past people, ignoring the shouting guards. Before anyone could stop her, she stood right in front of Mr. Karen. "Why did you leave me and my mom to die?" she screamed. Everything went silent. Cameras stopped clicking. The crowd froze. Reporters looked at each other, in shock. The guards rushed toward the girl, but she didn't move. She just kept staring at Mr. Karen, her eyes full of pain. Mr. Karen looked at her. His face, usually strong and controlled, suddenly turned pale. For a moment he didn't say anything. It was like he had seen a ghost. The little girl's voice shook as she spoke again. "Do you even remember her? Do you even care?" Before she could say more, the guards grabbed her gently and pulled her away. The crowd whispered. People started recording on their phones. Some reporters tried to follow, but the guards blocked them. Mr. Karen stood still, watching the girl as she was taken away. A reporter asked, "Sir, do you know that girl?" But Mr. Karen didn't answer. He just turned and walked away, his face full of confusion. Inside the mall office, his assistant whispered, "Sir, should we call the police?" "No," Mr. Karen replied, still deep in thought. "Find out who she is, right now." Back outside, the little girl sat alone near the mall entrance. She held a photo in her hand, an old, faded picture of her mother standing beside a younger. Mr. Karen, a kind old security guard, noticed her crying. He asked softly, "Beta, what happened?" The girl replied, "That man. He left my mom when she needed him most. He promised to help her, and he disappeared." She looked up, her voice soft but sharp. "He lied. Because of that, my mom died." The guard didn't know what to say. He just gave her his water bottle and said, "Wait here, child." Meanwhile, inside the mall, Mr. Karen was holding the same photo in his hand. One of his men had quickly found it from a media page that shared the girl's outburst. His hands shook as he looked at the woman in the picture. Her face brought back memories, painful ones. A time when he was not a billionaire, a time when he made a promise he never kept. That night, Mr. Karen didn't go home. He sat alone in his office staring at the photo. Outside, the city lights sparkled, but in Mr. Karen's heart, only one question echoed again and again. Could it really be her daughter? Mr. Karen couldn't sleep that night. He sat in his big office alone. His phone was silent. The lights in the tall building behind him were off, but his mind was full of noise. That little girl's words kept echoing in his head. "Why did you leave me and my mom to die?" He stared at the old photograph again, a young woman standing beside him. Her name was Sana. Years ago, before he became a billionaire, Sana had been his friend, maybe more than a friend. They met when Mr. Karan was just a struggling young man, working part-time and dreaming big. Sana had believed in him when no one else did. She helped him, gave him food when he was hungry, and even sold her jewelry once to support his dream. He had promised her, "When I become successful, I'll come back for you. I'll give you and your daughter a better life." But life moved fast. Business deals, fame, money, all of it changed him. He forgot about Sana, and now, years later, her daughter had appeared in front of the whole world, accusing him. "Did she really die because of me?" he whispered to himself. He couldn't ignore the pain in the girl's eyes. It wasn't fake. It was real, deep, honest. The next morning he called his most trusted man, Raghav. "Find out everything about that girl," Mr. Karen ordered. Where she lives, who her mother was, what happened to her. Raghav nodded and left quickly. Meanwhile, in a small broken house on the edge of the city, the girl, Ria, sat beside an old photograph of her mother. Sana had died a few months ago in a government hospital. She was sick, but they couldn't afford treatment. Ria remembered how her mother used to talk about a man named Karan. He was kind once, her mother had said. He promised to help us. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he got lost in his success. Ria had listened quietly. After Sana died, she had found the photograph, her mother and Mr. Karan standing together, smiling. That photo gave her a reason to find him, to ask why. Ria didn't want money. She didn't want revenge. She just wanted the truth. Back. In the city, Raghav returned in the evening with some documents and a report. He placed it on Mr. Karan's desk. Her name is Ria. Her mother's name was Sana, Raghav said softly. She lived in a rented house, worked as a cleaner. She died of illness 5 months ago. They asked for help, but no one listened. Mr. Karan read the report silently. Each word felt heavier than the last. She was all alone, he asked. Raghav nodded. Mr. Karan stood up. He didn't say a word. He walked to the window and looked outside. For years, he had been praised by people for his success. He was called powerful, brilliant, unstoppable. But now, for the first time, he felt small. He had made a promise and broken it. And now a little girl had reminded him of the man he used to be. He turned to Raghav and said in a low voice, "I want to meet her." Raghav looked surprised. "Sir, after what happened at the mall, I don't care, Mr. Karan interrupted. "She deserves answers." At the same time, Ria sat under a streetlight near her home. She held the same photo in her hand, whispering, "I just want to know why you left." She didn't know that the man she hated was on his way to meet her. It was early evening. The sky was turning orange. People were closing shops, children were running home, and streetlights started to glow. In a small, dusty lane far from the city lights, Ria sat on the old steps of her home. Her hands tightly held the photo of her mother and Mr. Karan. Her eyes were red, but she didn't cry anymore. She had already cried too much. Just then, she heard a sound, a car engine. She looked up. A black car was slowly moving toward her street. No cars ever came there. It was a poor area. Broken houses, garbage in the corners, and small children playing with torn slippers. The black car looked strange here, like it didn't belong. The car stopped right in front of Ria. She stood up, quickly, nervous and confused. The driver opened the back door, and then Mr. Karan stepped out, the same man from the mall, the man her mother once loved, the man Ria blamed for all her pain. People around stared. Children stopped playing. Some men whispered, "Is that the billionaire?" Mr. Karan looked around quietly. His expensive shoes stepped into the dirt. He didn't care. His eyes were only looking at one person, Ria. She backed away, scared. "Why are you here?" she asked in a shaking voice. Mr. Karan took a deep breath. He walked closer and knelt down so he could speak at her eye level. "I came to say, I'm sorry," he said softly. Ria's heart beat fast. "She didn't expect this. You left us," she whispered. "Mama died. She waited for you every day." "I know," he said, looking down. "I was young. I was foolish. I thought success meant forgetting the past. But I was wrong." Ria's hand shook as she held the photo. "She didn't even have money for medicine," she said, almost crying. "I watched her suffer. I begged people. No one helped." "I should have been there," Mr. Karan replied. His voice cracked. "She helped me when I had nothing. And when I had everything, I disappeared." There was silence. Even the birds above were quiet, as if listening. Ria looked at him. Her anger started to melt, just a little. "I don't want your money," she said. "I just wanted to know why." Mr. Karan nodded. "And I will give you answers. Not just words, Ria. I want to make things right." She looked into his eyes. They didn't look proud or rich. They looked sad. guilty. "Why now?" she asked. "Because you reminded me who I used to be," he answered. Ria didn't say anything. She stepped aside and pointed toward the small broken door of her home. "Do you want to see where we lived?" He nodded and followed her in. Inside, the house was dark and small. One broken fan, one old bed, and a few pictures on the wall. Mr. Karan looked around. His eyes stopped on a wooden box. Inside it were a few things: old clothes, her mother's medicines, and the letter Sana had once written, but never sent. Ria gave him the letter. "She wrote this for you. I found it after she passed." With shaking hands, Mr. Karan opened the letter. The paper was old and faded. Sana's words were simple but full of love. "Dear Karan, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't want your money. I just hope you still have the heart I once knew. Ria asks about you sometimes. I just tell her stories. I tell her you're helping the world. I still believe in you, even if you forgot us." Tears ran down Mr. Karan's face, folded the letter gently and placed it back. "I didn't deserve her kindness," he said. "But I want to earn yours, Ria." Ria stayed silent. She didn't know what to say. As Mr. Karan left the house, he turned to her and said, "I'll be back tomorrow, not as a billionaire, just as a man who made a mistake." And then he got in his car and left. Ria stood at the door holding her mother's letter. For the first time in months. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the city. The poor neighborhood began to stir. Women carried water buckets, street vendors opened carts, and children ran barefoot through the alleys. But inside one small house, Ria sat silently with the old photo in her hand. She had barely slept. Mr. Karan's visit had shaken her. She looked at her mother's picture and whispered, "Was he really sorry, Mama? Or just feeling guilty?" Just then, there was a knock on the door. Ria opened, carefully, and there he was, Mr. Karan, but this time not in a suit. He wore simple clothes and a plain white shirt and slippers. No guards, no car. "I said I'd come back," he said softly. Ria moved aside. He stepped in. Mr. Karan looked around again. The small space, the broken furniture, the faded walls. Every corner told a story of struggle. "I want to know everything," he said. "About you, about your mother. Please tell me." Ria nodded slowly. She sat down on the floor, and Mr. Karan sat beside her, on the same torn mat her mother used to sit on. And so the truth began to unfold. Ria spoke about the nights her mother coughed until dawn, the times when they had no food, how her mother worked 2 jobs, sewing clothes and cleaning homes. She never complained, Ria said. She always smiled, even when her body was weak. Mr. Karan listened carefully, eyes full of pain. "She used to look at your photo sometimes," Ria added. "I asked her if you were coming back. She always said, 'Maybe one day.'" Karan looked down. "I was building my empire," he whispered. "I thought love could wait." He then reached into his pocket and pulled out an old chain with a small ring on it. "I kept this," he said. "She gave it to me when I had nothing. I wore it for years, then locked it away." Ria touched the ring gently. "This was Mama's," she said. "Yes," he replied. "I didn't deserve to keep it. It belongs here." He handed it to her. Ria held it tight, and for a moment there was silence. Suddenly Ria stood up. "There's someone I want you to meet," she said. She took his hand and led him to the back of the house, a small dusty room with nothing inside but an old box. Inside, that box were letters, many of them. "She wrote these for you," Ria said. "She never sent them, but she wrote one every year on your birthday." Mr. Karan picked up the letters, his hands shaking. The first one was dated 10 years ago. "Dear Karan, happy birthday. I hope you're smiling today. Ria turned 3 last week. She looks like you, especially when she frowns." He stopped. His chest hurt. Not from illness, but from regret. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Ria handed him an old cloth. "She believed you were a good man," Ria said quietly. "She told me never to hate you." Mr. Karan nodded, unable to speak. After a long moment, he stood up and said, Ria, will you come with me today? I want to show you something. Ria looked surprised. Where? He gave her a kind smile. To the place where everything began, where your mother and I first met. The black car drove through the city, past tall buildings and crowded streets. Ria sat beside Mr. Karan, silent and unsure. She held her mother's old ring in her hand, gripping it tightly like a piece of her heart. Mr. Karan glanced at her. We're almost there, he said softly. Ria didn't ask where they were going. A part of her didn't care. She just wanted to understand why her mother had suffered so much, and why this man, her father, had never come back. Finally, the car stopped in front of a small old building. It wasn't fancy. In fact, it looked abandoned. Broken windows, faded paint, weeds growing in the cracks of the sidewalk. This used to be a coffee shop, Mr. Karan said. It's where I first met your mother. He stepped out of the car and Ria followed. Inside, dust filled the air. Broken chairs lay on the floor. The smell of old wood and memories hung around them. She was a waitress here, Karen said, walking to a corner. I was just a student, poor, hungry. She gave me a cup of tea for free that day, was with a smile. Ria listened quietly. She had nothing, he continued, but she gave everything. Her time, her heart, her trust. He turned toward Ria. We used to dream here of building a life together, a small home, a happy family. Ria's eyes filled with tears. So what happened? She asked. Karan took a deep breath. I was offered a job in another city, a big one. I promised to return to take her with me. But once success came, I got busy. I told myself I'd come back later. I thought she'd wait. Ria shook, her head, pain rising in her voice. She waited every single day, she said. She worked herself sick and still smiled for me. Mr. Karan's hands trembled. I failed her, he whispered. I failed you. He reached into his coat and handed Ria a small envelope. What's this? She asked. My will, he replied. Everything I own, I'm giving it to you. Ria froze. I don't want your money, she said. It's not just money, he said gently. It's a second chance. For you, for your future, for everything your mother dreamed of. She looked at him, the man who had left them, who had caused so much pain, yet now stood before her, broken, guilty, and trying to make things right. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said. But I am asking for a chance to be your father now. Ria didn't reply. The moment was too big, too heavy. Suddenly, Mr. Karan bent down and pulled something from under a loose floorboard. It was a small wooden box. He opened it slowly. Inside was a bracelet, old, worn, but still beautiful. She gave me this, he said, and I left it here the day I left the city. He handed it to Ria. She touched it carefully as if her mother's touch still lived inside. She wore this in the hospital, Ria whispered. I remember. Karan looked at her with tears in his eyes. Ria, let me show you a better world. Let me carry the pain that you've carried alone for so long. Just as Ria stepped toward the door of the old cafe, it creaked open from the outside. A man stood there, thin, in his 40s, wearing a faded jacket and holding an envelope in his hand. His face was tired, but his eyes were alert. He looked at both Ria and Mr. Karan with a strange intensity. You don't know me, he said quietly, but I knew your mother. Ria's heart skipped a beat. Who are you? Mr. Karan asked, stepping in front of her protectively. The man gave a small nod. My name is Samir. I was your wife's neighbor when you left. Karan's face turned pale. I watched her struggle, Samir said. I saw her cry alone. I saw her pray. For you every night, Ria stood frozen. I tried to help her, Samir continued, but I didn't have much. Just a small job and barely enough to feed myself. He stepped forward and handed the envelope to Mr. Karan. She wrote this for you, he said, but she never sent it. She said, if Karan comes back, give this to him. If he doesn't, maybe it's better he never reads it. With trembling hands, Karan opened the letter. The handwriting was shaky, but the words were filled with love, pain, and quiet forgiveness. Karan, if you ever return, I want you to know I never stopped waiting. I believed in you even when others laughed. I hope life was kind to you. I don't blame you. But if you find this, promise me one thing. Don't leave our daughter to face the world alone. Tears streamed down Karan's face. He looked at Ria, who was silently crying too. Why didn't you come sooner? She whispered to Samir. Samir sighed. I didn't know where to find him, and I thought maybe it was better to leave the past alone. Karen turned to him. Thank you for keeping her memory safe. Samir nodded, then looked at Ria. You have your mother's eyes, her courage too. Then he said something no one expected. She was sick, but the hospital turned her away. Ria gasped. What? Why? They said the bills weren't paid, Samir explained. She waited for help that never came. If only someone had arrived earlier. Mr. Karen felt as if the world had collapsed on his shoulders. She died. Because of me. Samir didn't respond. Some truths didn't need more words. Karan looked at Ria, his voice trembling. I promise I will never fail you again. Ria stared at her father. For the first time, she saw him not as a billionaire, but as a broken man, trying to rebuild something precious. She didn't answer. Not yet. Suddenly, Karan pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyer. Everything I own, half of it goes to Ria. And I want to start a hospital in your mother's name. Samir raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? Yes, Karan said, firmly. I couldn't save her, but I can save others. Dusk setting. Just then, Ria's phone buzzed. A message flashed on the screen from an unknown number. I know the truth about your mother. Meet me tonight. Come alone. Ria stared at the message. Who was this person, and what truth were they talking about? The real story was far from over. Ria stared at the message on her phone. I know the truth about your mother. Meet me tonight. Come alone. Her heart beat faster. Should she go? Was it dangerous? Or could this person really know something more? She didn't tell Mr. Karen or Samir. That evening, while they were busy preparing to leave the cafe, Ria quietly slipped away. She walked through the quiet streets until she reached the address sent to her, an old broken building near the edge of the city. A single light flickered inside. Ria stepped in slowly, her hands shaking. Hello? She called out. A woman stepped forward. Her face was half hidden by a shawl, but her voice was clear. You look just like your mother. Ria's eyes widened. Who are you? The woman looked down. My name is Fariha. I was your mother's best friend, and I know why she died. Ria's voice trembled. She was sick, and the hospital turned her away. Fariha nodded. That's true, but there's more. Your mother had savings. Not much, but enough for the first treatments. She gave them to a man, someone she trusted. Ria's breath caught. Who? Fariha looked straight at her. Samir. Shock hit Ria like a wave. Samir, but he helped us. He gave the letter. He was kind. Fariha shook her head. He took the money and disappeared. I begged your mother to report him. But she said he's poor. Maybe he needed it more than I did. Tears filled Ria's eyes. She forgave him, even when he let her die. Fariha nodded slowly. That's who your mother was. She believed in kindness, even when it broke her. Ria stood frozen. Her thoughts raced back to Samir's words, his eyes, his silence. Was that guilt hiding behind them? She left without saying a word and ran back to the cafe. Samir was still there, sipping tea quietly. Mr. Karen was on the phone, finalizing the legal papers for Ria's future. Ria stood before Samir. You lied. Samir looked up, confused. What do you mean? You stole from my mother. She trusted you and you let her die. The room fell silent. Mr. Karen slowly lowered his phone. Samir closed his eyes. He didn't deny it. I was desperate. He whispered. My son was dying. I thought I'd return the money after saving him. But it was too late for both of them. Tears ran down his face. I lived with this guilt every day. I thought helping you find your father might make it right. Mr. Karen stood up. You didn't just steal money. You stole time. The time I could have had with her. Samir bowed his head in shame. Ria felt anger, pain, but also something else. Understanding. My mother forgave you, she said softly. But that doesn't mean I will. Not yet. Samir nodded. I'll leave. You'll never see me again. As he walked out of the cafe, the door closed with a heavy silence. Final scene. A new beginning. Weeks passed. Mr. Karen kept his promise. A hospital was built in her mother's name, the Mira Care Center, offering free treatment to the poor. Ria moved into her new home with her father. It wasn't easy. There were quiet dinners, awkward silences, and tears in the night. But, slowly, they began to heal. One day, as Ria stood at the hospital entrance, a little girl walked up and said, "Thank you for building this place. My mama is getting better now." Ria smiled, eyes wet. Her heart felt full. She whispered, "This is for you, Mama. You left, but your kindness stayed behind." The camera slowly zooms out, showing the hospital, the smiling faces, and the sign that read, "Built with love, forged by loss, powered by hope, powered by..."